Hello and welcome. We have some serious updates coming out of the Middle East right now with reports of explosions and attacks in Iran. Iran is claiming that US forces have been struck, specifically destroyers. We're seeing those reports now. We're also seeing with Al Jazeera has live views up right now of air defenses potentially going off earlier in Tehran, and it's a lot of information coming in very quickly, so I'm working my best to figure it out. We had no official response from the United States at this time. Iranian state media is talking a lot about what is going on, and I am still setting up my full desk here. Let me see if I can get the chat up just in case anybody is popped in. No, it's just me. All right. Let's see if I can't get... I'll move this up here. I wasn't expecting this to go live till I had my set up. All right. I'm gonna wait for that to go, and then it's okay. All right, so we are tracking the situation in the Middle East right now. We're getting information all over the place. So as an update, we have potential strikes in Iran. We have potential Iranian strikes onto US ships in the region. We have no official report yet from the US administration as far as we've been able to see. I'll get those live cams up for you guys now. Hello, Aki. How are you doing? All right, let's do pop out chat. Seeing myself really does not help. All right. So yeah, we don't have any official response from the US right now. I'm keeping an eye on CENTCOM and a few of the other sources. And we have no official news from the United States at this time. There might be an update from... Okay, so apparently Trump is saying the Iran war will be over quickly as Tehran seeks to lay claim. Okay. Okay, so Iranian state TV is reporting that there's been explosions heard on an island off the coast of Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. We're seeing oil prices skyrocketing. I think I have... Okay, we don't. Let's add it, because that's going to be important for this. Do that. We get market information. That's not the right one. That was the incorrect one. I got too many sources. Browsing. Market. There we go. There we go. So we have reports from Fox News that the U.S. attacked Iran's Qeshm port and Bandar Abbas. We're still waiting on a U.S. response for this, but it looks like the ceasefire might be over. Iran's claiming that the U.S. broke the ceasefire by conducting their blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and now it seems like the back and forth of ceasefire agreements appears to be bouncing back and forth, is coming to an end. Doesn't seem like there's going to be any more of that. It looks like this has gone kinetic once again. So apparently, according to CBS News, two U.S. destroyers were potentially struck by Iranian forces, according to Iranian state media, which has had mixed accuracy thus far. Apparently, they're also claiming, the Iranian state media is also claiming that they fired missiles and drones at those U.S. destroyers. So this is okay. Let's keep looking. Let's figure out what's going on here. Might have an update from CENTCOM now. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we have an official report from CENTCOM. I'm gonna pull this down. So this is an article that they've released on... Shoot. Okay, so this is their report. Let's have a look at this. U.S. forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded in self-defense strikes as U.S. military guided missile destroyers transited the Strait of Hormuz to the Gulf of Oman on May 7th. Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats at the USS Truxtun, DDG-103, USS Rafael Paratella, and USS Mason as they transited the International Sea Passage. No U.S. assets were struck. U.S. Central Command eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for the attacking of U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance nodes as well. They also finished their statement by saying CENTCOM does not seek escalation but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces. So there is a chance that this is not a total breakdown of the ceasefire, depending on if escalation continues from this point. So that is what we're going to be looking for. That's what we're watching for. We're going to switch you guys back to the cameras. Brought to you by Intel Cams Live on YouTube. These are cameras over the Middle East region that provide live visual information that has been verified in the conflict thus far. Of the we had this on to keep track of any potential outgoing strikes from Iran into the other regions, mostly Israel, by the looks of what they have up today. I might actually switch that up. Before in the conflict, they were running a larger variety of cams. Let's see if we can get you a better option. Here's our second option here, but from Source Global News. We've used them before, and we're happy to use them again. Please do check them out if you're interested in this kind of thing. U.S. is saying that it's, yeah. We're just getting a few more updates as things go here. So the U.S. is claiming it is a self-defense strike, but in reality, the effect of it may extend past. We might end up seeing this develop into the conflict resuming. Not entirely sure. Once again, this here is brought to you from Source Global News. Check them out if you're interested in any live visual information from the Middle East region during this conflict. Also looks like in Damascus, Syria, we have a few people trying to move a pipe. We're not seeing too much escalation now at this moment. We're not hearing of brand new strikes as of this moment. So this is probably the short break that we're expecting as people figure out what exactly just happened and decide what moves they're going to take from here. But yeah, Iran is claiming that it attacked U.S. ships, and the U.S. is clarifying that drone and missile and fast boats did attempt to attack 2 of their destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz, and it has resulted in the U.S. striking back at Iranian military infrastructure that participated in, or potentially participated in the attempted attack. Iran is saying that they do not consider the U.S. to have abided by the agreement that they had made in relation to a ceasefire, and therefore here we are. We also have an update out of Damascus, Syria. It looks like those pipes have been placed in the middle of the road, blocking it. The reason for that, I could not tell you. We're going to continue tracking this. Sorry, while we wait for more information, I'm going to have a second here to just point out, set's not built yet. It'll come. I am working on getting that done. I have a goal for it, and it's very exciting for myself and everybody else who's going to be watching. We are keeping track of the situation right now. It also occurs to me I should probably have the other chat up. Really hope YouTube has a pop-out chat option. But I might have a solution here. Hold on. We're also waiting for the President of the United States to be speaking in China, which is going to be really interesting now. Okay, so Iranian state, this is according to Reuters, Iranian state broadcaster says U.S. military naval units came under fire, missile fire after U.S. attack on Iranian oil tankers. So Iran appears to be claiming that the strikes on, or the attack on the U.S. vessels was in relationship to, in relation to the U.S. strike on one of their oil ships that have violated, that the U.S. is claiming violated their side of the ceasefire, and now we have sorry if I ever pause like that, it's because I'm getting more information All right. Now, this isn't the first time that we've had kinetic activity in the region since the beginning of the ceasefire. There was periodic exchange of fire right at the initiation of the ceasefire. There's been ongoing conflict between Hezbollah, which is an extension of Iran, and Israel in Lebanon, which has caused multiple stories in and out of itself. We also have had the blockades, which are a point of contention between the two countries about whether one side or the other has permission to do that under the agreement. So far, we're not seeing anything on the live cameras that you can see we have up now, other than just what appears to be an average calm night considering everything that's going on. Sorry about the dead air. It'll happen. It'll happen on occasion. So, we have no real recent information, no real developments. So, to anybody joining, the US is saying that 2 of their destroyers were attacked by Iranian forces. Iran is saying, well, is confirming those reports and also stating that they did so with the intention of, they didn't explain intention, I apologize. They did so in relation to the US strike on one of their oil tankers. The US is claiming that they don't want escalation from this, but it is just a matter of time to determine whether Iran will take the US response, which was striking several Iranian military targets that they believe were responsible for the strike on themselves. That is where we're at now, waiting for the results of that. We're also waiting on the the President of the United States, who is expected to make an appearance in China in the near future. That appears to be where we're at. So, realistically, the ceasefire has not officially ended at this point. So, neither side has said that this is a resumption of conflict. Neither side has stated that they have an intention for this to escalate. All we are seeing at this time is that an exchange of fire has occurred. At this time, both sides are claiming that they did so within their rights within the ceasefire, as it appears, and we are simply waiting to see how the two countries will interact with what just happened. I'm also going to try to find my blue light glasses, and I'm not going to have a massive headache after this. continuing to keep an eye on everything. Waiting on any official response past the one from CENTCOM that we got shortly ago. Al Jazeera is potentially saying here that Iran has accused the United States of violating the ceasefire by targeting ships near the Strait of Hormuz and carrying out airstrikes on civilian areas in Kashmir, Sirk, and Qeshm Island. I'm sorry if I'm butchering any of these names. Warning of a crushing response. So we could be seeing escalation here tonight. Al Jazeera also reporting that Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson issued a condemnation of Israeli attacks on Beirut, aligning with ongoing Israeli strikes on targeting Hezbollah. So the Israel-Hezbollah issue has been a consistent ongoing thing. So I don't want anybody to confuse the ceasefire between the United States and Iran and Israel and Lebanon. Those are now at this point entirely detached conflicts. So the interesting element of that is that the United States is, that first of all, such a key player with Israel's combat platform currently, that this is, having this be separate wasn't really an expectation, at least of myself at the beginning of the conflict, as Israel and the United States were practically operating as a single kinetic arm where to conduct strikes on Iran and its military targets, both inside the borders of Iran and outside of. And now it appears that Israel or Israeli forces are essentially conducting their own actions in a complete disconnect from the United States intentions. We have a few of the other news sites are starting to catch up now at this time. And yeah, apparently apparently these might also be linked with the Iranian strikes on the UAE earlier. We're really, really waiting for the US official response at this time. We have no word from the President of the United States at this time. His last official remark on Truth Social was 2 hours ago. And we are expecting there to be a response in regards to this from him in the coming future. Yeah, we have Al Jazeera saying that explosions heard in Iran as state media reports clashes with the U.S. Navy. So yeah, we're seeing several of the other outlets beginning to cover the issue. And the U.S. is claiming that the strikes on Iran were self-defensive, and they're what that's referring to is the CENTCOM post that came out just shortly ago that explained that the U.S. Struck what it believes to be the source of the attacks on the U.S. vessels. And of course, the markets are reacting as well. Yeah, we are seeing a lot going on. Compared to the last few days. Still waiting on a U.S. response. If you're joining now, the U.S. has taken strikes from Iranian forces. Apparently, none of the vessels were struck, but there was an attempt at an attack on U.S. destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz just shortly ago. The U.S. has responded by striking into Iran at what it says is suspected sources for the attack. And the U.S. CENTCOM official social media platforms have made the claim that they do not wish to have this be an escalation. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, we're really just waiting on the official U.S. response outside of CENTCOM at this time. We're expecting to see a response from President Trump, but he is supposed to be in China at the moment, or en route to. Sorry, I retract my last statement. He's not supposed to be in China. That is an entirely different thing. But we are still waiting for an official response from the president's office. World Monitor is now showing signs of potential action near the Israel-Lebanon area. And Iranian state media is officially saying, or claiming, that the U.S. has violated the ceasefire. This is not the first time that they've made claims such as that. We're going we're expecting to see many, many more. Not to say that a violation hasn't occurred, but more so that it is a circumstance that you need to take with a grain of salt when it's coming from Iranian state media, the same way that you would need to with any other involved nation. Usually you want to wait until you see both of them talk about it, or an independent source not relying on official government statements. Still waiting to see if there's any official updates at this time. If you're just joining, the United States and Iran have gotten themselves into a bit of a predicament where Iranian forces appear to have launched an attack on 2 U.S. warships who the United States Central Command is stating got out of the fight without any damage. But at this moment, Iran is also claiming that the U.S. has broken ceasefire agreements, with the U.S. response to those strikes on their ships being strikes into Iran and its military systems that may have been responsible for the strikes. That's according to CENTCOM. We're still waiting on official responses from the United States' highest level of government at this moment, as we expect it to be something that we will see shortly. We're just keeping track of what we can as we can. I'm also trying to see if Associated Press has any sort of prepared content for a U.S. statement. This kind of thing, we'd expect to see less of a CENTCOM briefing and more of a presidential briefing on this. So Associated Press is where you put your eyes on for that kind of thing. Still waiting on additional updates. Now, this is the kind of blank period in updates that we're expecting to see in a situation like this, as the first strikes usually take a while for a calculated response to result from it. Keep expecting. Still waiting on any official responses. If you Oh, there is a pop-out chat. Amazing. All right. All right, so for those of you who are just joining, let's get you the update. That's the wrong screen. Appears I lost my social link that I was using to check for that. But once again, the last update that we have from the President of the United States is 2 hours ago. We're waiting for his response to the recent events. The recent events being that Iran and the United States have exchanged fire or attacks. Iran apparently attacked 2 U.S. warships in the Strait of Hormuz after the U.S. struck a Iranian tanker earlier in the day. Earlier. That has resulted in the United States, who just had their boats attacked, to send off an attack on Iranian military systems that they believe to be responsible for the strike. We have reports of air defense systems and explosions over coming from Iran, and we also have potential reports of UAE issues going on as well. The situation isn't entirely clear at the moment, but CENTCOM has released an official statement, which I am trying to pull up now. There we go. So the U.S. Central Command, which is their section of the military designated for this area of the world, says U.S. forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded with self-defense strikes as U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyers transited the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf of Oman on May 7th. Iranian forces launched multiple missile drones and small boats as USS Truxtun, USS Rafael, Arletta, and USS Mason transited the international sea passage. No official U.S. assets were struck. The U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence and surveillance and reconnaissance nodes. And this is the part that is really going to be the head of the headlines here. CENTCOM does not seek escalation, but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces. So at this moment, that is what we are looking at. Still waiting on further responses to the events as they unfold. Still not seeing any response from the President of the United States about the escalation. Or the event, more accurately. According to the Associated Press, Iran called the U.S. proposal to the UN on the Strait of Hormuz flawed and politically motivated. This was earlier, and we're starting to get telegram footage and such now regarding Telegram, inputs now being, Telegram videos now being shown on Al Jazeera's live coverage of the events, showing air defense systems appearing to be active over the skies of Iran. And the U.S. is making claims that this is not the end of the ceasefire, which is pretty much good news for everybody involved. So this is not officially an end of the ceasefire, but that really depends on whether Iran decides to take the U.S. up on its statement that the ceasefire is not over. Keep in mind, a ceasefire needs to go both directions, and if Iran decides that this is resumption of conflict, then this is resumption of conflict. So we shouldn't be surprised to see that coming if it happens. So this really comes down to how the U.S. and Iran negotiate this out in the next little while. As of right now, if you're just joining, the United States and Iran have had an exchange of attacks in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. Apparently, 2 U.S. warships were under fire from Iranian military systems such as fast boats, missiles, and drones. CENTCOM officially claiming that no U.S. vessels were struck, but the U.S. has responded by striking within Iran at military targets that they believe might be responsible for the attempted attack on the U.S. vessels. We're hoping that this is going to be an individual exchange as opposed to a resumption of conflict, but at this point we had no guarantee one way or another. We don't at this time know the full extent of the strikes within Iran that they are claiming was a response to the attack or attempted attack on U.S. vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. So the question is really whether this is going to be simply an exchange where one side does something back and forth, done, or if this is going to be a resumption. That's the big question that everybody's asking at this time, and we won't know until we know. CENTCOM probably isn't going to be producing another response for a while. No response yet from the White House. Seeing if there's any updates. If you're just joining, there appears to have been a back and forth between the US and Iranian forces earlier. Iran apparently attempted a strike onto US warships in the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM reporting that the ships were not harmed. The US also stating that it conducted strikes within Iran at targets that it believes were responsible for the attempted strike on their ships. We have Al Jazeera presenting footage of air defense systems being active over Tehran. And the US claiming that it does not intend for this to be an escalation. The big question we're all waiting for is whether Iran shares the same sentiment, considering that Iran stated that the ceasefire had already been broken by the United States for interacting with, for attacking one of their oil vessels. Other than that, that's what we have. So, correction here, it was potentially 3 military vessels, not 2 of the potentially 3 American vessels. Gonna have a look at that CENTCOM statement again. Yeah, it was 3 ships, yep. The USS Truxtun, the USS Rafael Peralta, and the USS Mason were apparently attacked by Iranian forces in the Gulf of, in the Strait of Hormuz. US CENTCOM saying they do not seek escalation but remain positioned and ready to protect American forces. Let's see what's going on the cameras. Not much. We might transition that out for something else here. Oh, okay. Major update. Iran has agreed to resume the ceasefire. So this was simply a back and forth. That's according to Iranian state media. Coming from Al Jazeera, confirming those reports. So once again, Al Jazeera, a regional news network of the area, stating that Iranian state media is reporting, it's a lot of daisy chaining, I apologize, has stated that they are resuming the ceasefire. Iran's press TV. So yeah, it's stating that it's back to normal. So we can be glad to know that first of all, this is really big night, not only because this tit for tat happened in the first place, which is obviously very significant, but also the fact that they can both recover from this to this point, get into a position where they're willing to back down again, which is where I'm gonna have a heck of a day figuring all of that out tomorrow. The U.S. is apparently calling the return fire to be a love tap, according to ABC News. I'm checking further into this right now, but that falls pretty much where we expect it to be. Once again, this conflict has been going on since February 28th, with the U.S. and Israel working together as a force against Iran, and Iran's supposed, well, that at this point confirmed nuclear ambitions. We're still waiting on confirmation on that quote that we heard from ABC earlier. Al Jazeera reporting 6 minutes ago that explosions were reportedly heard in Iran's Hormuz province. Iran's Mer news agency apparently reporting that another explosion in the town of Sirik, located in Iran's I really need to get to figure out how to say these things. These places. But yeah, so the 6 minutes ago, apparently, Mer news agency reporting that there was another explosion in the town of Sirik in Iran. Still waiting on that update from ABC. Okay, yeah, so we have a confirmation now from CBC saying that the U.S. military struck 2 Iranian ports, and that's coming from officials, as CBS News claims. The U.S. carried out strikes Tuesday on 2 Iranian ports, on the edge of the Strait of Hormuz, multiple U.S. Officials told CBS News. This is after Iranian strikes on attempted strikes on 3 U.S. vessels that CENTCOM is claiming were unaffected or undamaged from the attempted strike. We're still waiting to hear updates on those explosions in Iran's town of Surik. But with both sides, and once again, if you're joining now, you might have heard that there are strikes occurring between the U.S. forces and Iranian forces. The statements that we're hearing now from the official sources is that this is not a break in the ceasefire as much as a back and forth about a specific chain of events. We're just waiting on further updates here in regards to all of that. The camera's off now, so I can switch everything out again, put it back where it needs to be. Okay. We're just looking in at the most recent information here now. We're seeing a lot of the news agencies are catching up now to the events. I may as well put this up for you guys. Screen. Let's bring it up for you guys. So I can't have that on. I don't know what that is. We're seeing some news agencies catching up here, as well as we are tracking Reuters, Associated Press, Al Jazeera, and Trump's, or President of the United States' Truth Social. At this point, the markets are thoroughly reacting as well. Okay, if you're just joining, the Iranian military forces and the American military forces have exchanged attacks earlier today. Both sides have come out and said that they do not intend for this to escalate further, and it appears that the ceasefire is still intact. We saw an exchange of communications from both sides, primarily at this point from Iran at this time, with Iran stating that they conducted strikes or an attack on 3 U.S. warships, the United States confirming that, The United States also stating that the ships involved were not damaged, specifically stating that no U.S. assets were struck. So, at this time, it appears that things will be resuming to the state that we have gotten used to over the last few weeks, as this continues to build up. So if you haven't heard it yet, U.S. CENTCOM official release was U.S. forces intercepted unprovoked Iranian attacks and responded with self-defense strikes as U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyers transited the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf of Oman on May 7th. Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats at the USS Truxtun, the USS Rafael Peralta, and the USS Mason as they transited the International Sea Passage. No U.S. assets were struck. U.S. Central Command CENTCOM eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites. The command and control locations and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. CENTCOM does not seek escalation but remains positioned and ready to protect American forces. That is the official CENTCOM response that was put out at 5:33 p.m. tonight, May 7th, as we're waiting for additional U.S. response as well as additional information on the interactions that happened earlier today. Iranian state media has claimed that the ceasefire is not intended to be over at this time. Ooh. That is live. So at this time, we are waiting on that official response. We're still waiting on additional information about this developing story. Thank you for the follow. As we continue to track this ongoing situation in the Middle East. We're still waiting on official replies from the highest level of U.S. government. We have seen multiple reports from Iranian state media. We're still waiting for a response from the United States coming from somewhere other than U.S. Central Command. Yeah, here we have additional reporting from Al Jazeera referring to the Trump statements earlier. Yeah, apparently, the President of the United States has stated that the response that U.S. had to the earlier attacks on U.S. warships was just a love tap, according to President Trump. A ceasefire is going, it is in effect. That is the official response from the President of the United States at this time. Iran has not changed their angle as of yet about the ceasefire continuing to be in function as well. So at this point, it appears that this was a temporary exchange of fire in response to specific events instead of a full return to conflict. We're expecting to see this situation to continue to evolve in the next few days, but as it seems for now, things might just be all right. We will be keeping an eye on the situation in the Middle East tonight and in the oncoming days. If there's any major updates, as we're going until 7 p.m. today for this live segment, and then we'll be returning to our regular coverage until further updates evolve. So we are keeping an eye on the event at this time. Might have a potential post from the President of the United States. I'm going to put this on screen here. Okay, I can get rid of the hero image. Okay. We had the official response from the President of the United States at this time. Okay, that's a smidge annoying. All right, 3 world-class U.S. American destroyers just transited very successfully out of the Strait of Hormuz under fire. There was no damage done to the 3 destroyers, but great damage done to the Iranian attackers. They were completely destroyed along with numerous small boats, which were being used to take the place of their fully decapitated navy. These boats went into the bottom of the sea quickly and efficiently. Missiles were shot at our destroyers and were easily knocked down. Likewise, drones came and were incinerated while in the air. They dropped ever so beautifully it down into the ocean. Very much like a butterfly dropping to its grave. A normal country would have allowed these destroyers to pass, but Iran is not a normal country. They are led by lunatics, and if they had the chance to use a nuclear weapon, they would do it. A reminder that is the United States' major reason for initiating this conflict. Donald Trump here continuing to say that they would do that without question. But they'll never have that opportunity, and just like we knocked them out again today, we'll knock them out a lot harder and a lot more violently in the future if they don't get their deal signed fast. Our 3 destroyers and their wonderful crews will now rejoin our naval blockade, which is truly a wall of steel. And this is coming from the President of the United States. So the Iranian response to this is going to be something that we're going to be interested in looking at as the next few hours or days pass. This could present a moderately significant issue for the United States if they just got out of if they pretty much just got into a position where they were able to not have an issue, not have this escalate, and then now that's their response. This might might cause a smidge of an issue. Just trying to get that image for you folks on screen so that you can see it without having to have all that space in the way. So you can see that official response from the President of the United States right there as he talks about the conflict that occurred earlier today within the Middle East between Iran and the United States. And as a summary, the United States and Iran had what appears to have been a temporary resumption of conflict earlier today, which included Iranian strikes on 3 U.S. military vessels in the region. The U.S. has claimed now, both by the President of the United States and CENTCOM, that the 3 vessels involved were not damaged. The President of the United States claiming that all weapon systems and attempted assault platforms that were directed at those 3 ships were destroyed. And Iran is also experienced strikes today from the United States in response to those attempted assaults on those ships. The U.S. specifically claiming that it, let's get an exact quote here. The U.S. Central Command eliminated inbound threats, targeted the Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile, drone, and launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. Both sides at this point are stating that they have no intention for the ceasefire to end, though both sides are clearly prepared for escalations to continue if things divert. At this time, we are not seeing any signs of a full resumption of the conflict. Instead, it seems that both sides are trying to avoid that, which we are glad to see. Though the big news on this topic is likely to come out tomorrow. We're expecting there to be some form of press briefing tomorrow that we'll be covering regarding this event from the United States. And we're also going to be tracking regional media from the area for any information from the Iranian side. We're also expecting geopolitical responses to this event to be coming out from sources all over the globe as the night and time go on. Also see if I can get the modify this to potato. Okay, and that is coming from X. This is CENTCOM's official statement that we're gonna put on screen here. So this is both of the U.S. Current official responses to the conflict earlier today in the Middle East. Activate that as well. Still no major updates coming out, other than at this point it appears that the escalation was temporary. At this time, it appears to be that the exchange of attacks was directly in relation to each other and not as an overarching intention to resume hostilities at this time. still not seeing any major updates in relation to this outside of the President of the United States' official response, which you can see on screen right there. So we have a bit more information coming out now from